Battlers podcast. I'm your co-host Debbie Pebble with the Welmer Wrangler, PvP Steve.
Oh, is that my official title? Is that who I am now?
I thought of it today.
All right, I'll update my Twitter header, I guess.
And yeah, let's get into what's the latest in all things Pokemon PvP. Steve, there's been, just a small update that happened this season or in the last couple of days, hey?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit on the last episode when we were talking about the World Championships in Honolulu. But yeah, we're certainly in a new era of PvP with a whole lot of new Pokemon Go fast move changes or fast attack changes, I should say. I've been trying to say attack instead of move, seeing as that's the sort of official, official terminology, just like
Ah,
why we're moving to charge attack priority instead of charge move priority. Look, I was still getting there, but
I
trying to
still
move
think it's
across.
I still think it's funny. It's called cap. I'm just like, it just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, it's sort of unfortunate that it's just like not even just like a word in the English language, but just that it's a word that has so much common day usage. It feels
Or
very
you
youthful.
youngins, you youngins.
Yeah, no cap. But
uh,
it does mean that we've ended up with a whole, essentially, like, I want to say a brand new meta. And I guess it is a brand
mm.
new meta, but there's still a lot of very familiar faces and a lot of very familiar, I guess, ways that things go down. But I don't know. Where did you want to start?
let's start with the switch timer.
Yeah, it's
I
50 seconds
mean,
now.
it is 50 seconds now. I suppose like this all started American 3rd of September, and now on point of recording, we've had what 4 days since it's all dropped, and I really like the switch timer. Like that 10-second difference it's really nice. What are your thoughts so far?
Okay, are you being serious right now, Debbie? Because like I just assumed that being an RPS machine that you are, that like the longer the switch timer, the better. there's, there's no swapping out a charm when it's a 60-second switch timer, but now they're just going to be running away quicker. I mean,
Look, RPS plays both ways. What if I get locked in and I'm like, oh no, I can't get out of here? You know, which of my three charmers can I get into? So, no, I think it has a bit more dynamic play. It's it's something to yeah, it's just a lot nicer to get out of tricky situations, and also I just think it's more interesting, just more interesting in general.
yeah, I mean, there's not really any argument to it. It's just, plain and simple does increase the level of, well, I guess the level of skill that's involved in the game, the potential for move swaps to, catch moves, more dynamic gameplay, less RPS lock-in scenarios because you are able to get out of it a little bit earlier. I know, one of the Aussie Worlds competitors gone 1001, he sort of pointed out that, with a 50-second switch timer, if you're able to catch a move onto a Pokemon by the time the switch timing animation is all wrapped up, which takes 10 seconds on its own, you now have a 40-second switch timer before you can then swap again. And so you only have to get like 2 charge attacks through, and all of a sudden you're off to the races and can really, really do whatever you want. And I know, having lost to,
Mm.
like, I bring this up every now and then, but my worst ever Pokemon Go PvP loss, the most dominant loss, was to Gohan back in like Silph Season 2. It is the most harshly beaten I've ever been. It was the biggest gap in skill, in the sense that like he was just a swapping legend. There was energy all over the place, and I just could not keep up. So it was the most, probably the biggest skill gap between myself and an opponent that there has ever been, just because he completely whooped me. But it
Mhm.
definitely suits that sort of play style, for sure. So it's going to be cool to see. We haven't seen any, I guess, big tournaments occur since the Swiss time has changed up. I mean, again, it has
Mm.
only been, this is day 5 of the new meta. Next weekend, or this coming weekend, I should say, there is going to be the first regional championship of the season. So looking forward to sort of seeing how it does sort of get pulled out by the players on the main stage as we sort of head towards our first regional champion of the season.
Yeah. What I actually was curious about, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, whether this is going to be something that's permanent. Is this just like, the max out season that we will only have the 50-second timer, or is this going to be like a forever thing?
So they said in the update article essentially that they're gonna wait and see. So like if it's a good
Mm,
change, they'll keep it. If everyone hates it for whatever reason, then they would probably revert it. So
yeah.
I don't see a universe that they revert it back to 60. I think
Hmm.
it's technically possible that they sort of like tweak it around again. Like maybe they go to 45 or they go to 55 or they go to 40 or like they might still play around. It's possible. But yeah, I see no universe that it goes back to 60.
What was the switch timer during that April Fool's event?
It was 30 seconds during April Fool's.
Oh, okay, yeah. Such a long time ago now, but I remember that being stupid.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was great. As in, like, it was funny, but I was also like, oh my goodness.
yeah. Look, I don't think anyone is advocating for that level of intensity, but there were a few people, even back when it was the 60-second switch timer was the norm. There were people out there that were clamoring for the 40-second, like that was their sort of big major ask. I think 50-second is a pretty decent middle ground, and I don't
Hmm.
think there needs to be clamoring for any shorter than this, to be honest. Like, I'd be willing to give
Hmm.
40 seconds a go, but I feel like 50 seconds is a bit of a sweet spot.
Hmm. Yeah. So, pat on the back to Niantic or whoever thought of that one, being like, you know what, let's shave 10 seconds. Um, Because yeah, I did hear about the 40 seconds, like being advocated. So someone went, let's just go in between. And yeah, it seems to, like, I haven't heard any, well, on my feed anyway, on X or anyone complaining about the switch timer. If anything, it's been very, very positive.
Yeah, no, again, it's sort of just objectively a step towards the game being a little more dynamic and more skillful. So I don't think that there's really any reason to complain, except for, Basti uses to cry out, I suppose. But, you know,
It was gonna be a bad season for Basties anyway, so they're already the Basti users are already crying regardless of the switch timer.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it hasn't won a regional championship since Perth 2022, and I don't think that's going to change this season. Let's put it that way. But at the very least,
Ah.
we're sort of riding into the new season with all of these different move updates and whatnot. I mean, I
Mhm.
guess Debbie, did you want to sort of maybe talk to, uh, I guess what you've been seeing in, well, actually, what maybe I should ask first. Sort of an important pre-question. What have you been playing in the Go Battle League for the last 4 or 5 days?
What I've been playing. Look, I may not have ventured into Great League as of yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
uh, read between the lines. I'm playing Little Cup. um,
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna ask. I was like, "Oh, obviously I'll ask what you've been seeing in the meta so far," but you haven't seen the meta.
I've seen some nightshades and some uh
Some yeah.
I, I'm just chuckling, okay? I'm just chuckling every day.
Yeah, so while Debbie's out there abusing Shuckle in the Little Gala Cup, some of us have been hanging out in the Great League meta. So at least on my ends, it has been very, Clodsire is absolutely everywhere. Also, there's a fair few Malamars running around. For Alligator, I'll be honest, I've been surprised by how few for alligators I've been seeing. It's very much like it's probably second place in terms of frequency, which is expected.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
maybe it's just because I've been battling through, the pits of rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I haven't seen that many people with gators built. I did only build
Mm.
my first one literally this season. It turns out I'd never built one before, which was a surprise, but
A shadow one or a regular?
either. Like I just hadn't ever built
Oh.
one either way. So I ended up building a shadow, which I had a Croconaw with frustration removed, and I had clearly meant to evolve it during whatever event would let me do that, get Hydro Cannon on Shadow
Mm.
for Alligator, but evidently I'd forgotten to do so. And so I just had to elite TM it. I was doing it on stream, so I was like, it was the new season. I'm not gonna not use Shadow for Alligator, you know. So
Mhm, mhm.
to do what my Australian compatriot Fishy Legs 2 did on at the World Championships and just try and dominate with that Shadow Gator. Felt like the way to
Mm,
go.
we're bringing it back.
Well,
um, can't. Anyway, so what have you seen? So you've seen the Clodsires, you've seen the Gators, Malamar. I mean, like I'm pretty sure you started that trend, didn't you?
yeah, I think in the literal sense, I am the world's first Psywave Malamar user. For those that don't remember, I brought it to a local challenge. I think pretty much right after it was released. Which was that a new season move last season? Is that what it was?
I think you were trying to
I no, like
specifically,
I know why I was doing it, but like, was it
yeah.
released at the start of last season? Is that?
I can't remember if it was released or not. I just remember that you couldn't register it because it wasn't on Dracovius.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's such a useless move. In like, it was just literally bad. In that Dracoviz hadn't bothered to update it, and no one had brought it up for ages because it wasn't immediately after release. It was maybe like a month and a half in or something. So like, just no one had used it, and no one brought it up because no one had used it. So it's pretty much a non-issue. But yeah, uh,
Look, I'm just seeing this trend, okay? Like, brutal swing, sigh wave. What's the next one?
look, all I'm saying is that these guys like RK9 or Dracoviz that are upkeeping these resources that you have to enter and register your moves on, you've got to keep updated with the bad moves as well as the good, because there's going to be some lunatics out there that
hmm
decide that they want to run one of those bad moves. And
hmm
in this case, I was definitely one of those lunatics. So I ran it sort of for funsies.
Now, Steve, there's a lot of move updates and move changes. We're not going to go through every single one of them. Like, if you want to go through that, there's infographics and things. But what would you say your top three out of the changes are? Like, that would be, I suppose, most impactful coming into like the new Play Pokemon season.
I mean, obviously the ones that are the most impactful are the big nerfs, I suppose. In like, counter's been super nerfed, wing attack's been super nerfed, mudshot has been, I wouldn't call it super nerfed, but it's been pretty solidly nerfed in that, like, it's
Mm.
not a strict nerf necessarily in that its damage has been increased, but its energy generation has been decreased. But
Mhm.
Smackdown nerfed. It's really Steel Wing nerfed. It's just these, essentially this meta change wasn't so much about buffing Pokemon that weren't being used very much. It was really just about nerfing Pokemon that were good and seeing
Mm.
what was left over that was going to climb up. And so that's really what we're seeing with Feraligatr being one of the big meta stays. It literally wasn't touched. Shadow Claw
No.
didn't change. Hydro Cannon didn't change. Ice Beam didn't change. And so now it's just good because a lot of the other good things, a lot of the threats to Feraligatr have been removed. And same thing with Clodsire. Technically, it received a buff with Poison Sting getting a buff. But like, Poison Sting isn't why Clodsire is good, in the sense that it's
No.
not the damage increase to Poison Sting that has all of a sudden made it an absolute, gun in Pokemon Go
Mm.
PvP. It's because it had really nice coverage with Stone Edge Earthquake. It's really bulky. It's got a good typing. And once you removed a lot of the main meta threats from the last season, it's what you're left with. And so you end up with, strong Pokemon like Clodsire.
Yeah. It's just so interesting because last season, Clodsire, I did bring Clodsire a few times to a couple of regionals, and I like playing with it. However, it felt really clunky at times. It was just a bit hard to move around. I think with the switch timer being reduced, and now that a lot of, you know, I don't foresee people bringing things like Lantern or um, even, actually, not too sure about Azumarill. But my point is that it seems a bit easier to play Clodsire. Um, Again, as someone that has not ventured into Great League yet, and very much just tapping away my shuckles, that's what I assume through there. But yeah, lots of when you mentioned the counter, that counter has been nerfed. Now I haven't used anything with counter except for rocket battles. And I,
Mhm.
and I just realized, going, man, it's taking me so much longer to do these rockets. So like, oh, your counter's been nerfed, of course. I was like,
Oh.
ah, man, this is how it's affected me. Rockets.
Yeah, I honestly hadn't even thought about that, about, how all of those infographics, all of the guides about how to do Team Rocket battles so effectively. Like, what the two of the biggest, well, I mean, the biggest Pokemon that was always named in those graphics was Power Up Punch Lucario. Because it was like,
Mm,
oh, throw in Lucario, you'll get to Power Up Punches really quick, you'll burn their shields. And then the second mention was Mudshot Hydro Cannon Swampert, which has also been nerfed. It's
mhm,
literally slower, so it's getting to those charge attacks slower. So, yeah, I hadn't considered the nerf in that sense to not even a nerf to rocket battles because they're just as easy as ever, but just
mm,
the nerf to the move to irrelevance of many of the previous guides on how to defeat Team Rocket battles. So, something to keep in mind. But on your comments about Clodsire, I wouldn't go as far as to say is like, it it's really a dynamic Pokemon per se. It has felt quite RPS in most settings, not to like the strictest degree, like not literally you either win or you lose based on this, but it really has seemed like the meta has in some sense been in a place where you are looking for that alignment. You are looking for the hard counters. You are looking to get your specific Clodsire counters onto Clodsire. And part of that is just because I think a lot of people went into this season knowing that Clodsire was going to be on top of the thing. And so there's just a lot of
mm,
people that are specifically targeting Clodsire. And I mean, Debbie, you would be familiar with this in the Little Gala Cup, where people are sort of specifically targeting Bronzor in
mhm,
particular. Like there's teams out there that are triple countering Bronzor because they know that it's good in the format. And so they try and defeat it. And I think it's sort of similarly playing out with Clodsire. So will the meta sort of move a little bit away from RPS as time goes on? I think so, or I hope so. But I think in general, Clodsire isn't exactly a dynamic beast in its own right.
no. It's too cute to be called a beast. Um, but yeah, no, it's just really interesting. I think it's just such a, with all these changes and everything, it's just such a playful time. From what I'm hearing from the community, people just like figuring out what to do and what to bring, and um, it's actually. I'm optimistic at this stage. Obviously, there's still going to be people that complain about things, but so far I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, let's see how it all fares out. Um, Another thing that I wanted to bring up was that on PvPoke, I know you already said this already. On PvPoke, it suggests Poison Sting on Clodsire, but
Mhm.
like in your experience, have you actually seen anyone bring Poison Sting?
Yeah, literally everyone's using Poison Sting. Like it is
Oh,
the move to go for because Mudshot has been
oh,
nerfed. Like it's because you really are looking for that energy generation. I mean, PvPoke has been changing things so much. By the way, you can click all of these, also like there's a show stats button on the moves on the thing. It's like I can just read it off the PvPoke. Like Poison Sting and Mudshot do the exact same amount of damage, but Poison Sting just literally generates more energy. Like it's just
ah,
literally a better move. Um,
mhm.
After its damage has been buffed in kind with Mudshot getting its damage increased. So yeah, Poison Sting is literally the move to go for. So it's although I will say I think for the first day I streamed my battles, I think I ran Mudshot Clodsire for about 10 battles because I didn't realize I hadn't TM'd it off. So someone did point it out in chat. It's like,
Ah.
Steve, bud, come on, man. And it wasn't the first, or well, actually, it might have been the first, but it definitely wasn't the last time that had to get picked up with an incorrect move set. But we're getting there.
Hey, hey, look, it took you, 10 battles. It's taken me 4 days. So really, I think you're doing well there. It's fine.
look, look, maybe if you eventually, get into the Great League format, then you'll have to face a lot of this yourself.
Look, just give me my 2 weeks with my shuckle and then I'm good. Then afterwards we'll dip in properly. When I eventually have to go to a local and start playing again and actually play properly. But I did have Z-Type say like bring your shuckle to the local, but I think that's a setup. So
Oh, you don't think he was trying to had your best interest at heart?
Surely he would, right? Like, you wouldn't do that to me.
After all you've done for the Perth locals, he'd never. But you will be waiting a while though, because I think that once the little Gala Cup goes out of rotation, we actually don't get Great League back until like September 25th
Oh
Australian time.
gosh.
So
Mm.
it's a little bit. You'll be waiting a bit if you play Gala the whole way through. Well, like actually, there's actually not that much of this particular rotation left anyway, because it rotates out on Wednesday morning Australia time. I mean, Gala Little Cup goes for an extra week, so keep shuckling away.
Yay. Oh, it's terrible. I love it.
I am
um,
jealous. I do want that hundo shuckle so bad. I mean, I know you
I
don't have a hundo; it's a 98. I
It is a 98, and I don't even have it powered up all the way. It's only like 417 CP. It's not even best buddied, but it's taken names. Um, and I'm okay with that. I do have a few. Which I was actually meant to trade you, but too busy over in Honolulu at the time. Um, I think I've got like 40 shuckle in my inventory, so that's at least let's call it like 38 to 35 to 38 like XL candy there.
mm-hmm.
To try and get, since it's guaranteed in trades at the moment. So maybe I can, but I won't have it all the way up until it's fine how it is. I think it's okay. Maybe I'll get to rank 20 with it. I don't know. We'll see.
If you play your sets, it's basically guaranteed you'll get to rank 20 if you know keep on going. You should be fine, I think.
We'll see. But yeah, I let's go on into, I suppose, the new Pokemon that have kind of like crept up onto PvPoke's top 10. Um, so one that stands out to me, which I imagine Lou the Pikachu is probably pretty happy with, is Gastrodon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does it matter if it's pink or blue?
I'm sure it matters to some, but it doesn't matter to old PV Poke because, yeah, Gastrodon is Gastrodon, and it is one of the most polarizing Pokemon in this meta. I mean, it exists to hard counter Clodsire, and that is really all it exists for. Like, there's almost
Mm,
no other reason to run Gastrodon. I mean, that's not entirely true. It does actually have quite decent neutral play into a lot of the meta. Even though Body Slam has been nerfed, it still gets to Body Slam relatively quickly. PV Poke currently recommends Earth Power. I've seen a little bit of discourse around potentially running Water Pulse instead of running Body
mm,
Slam, a potential Water Pulse Earth Power moveset, or
mhm.
even ditching Earth Power entirely, relying on Mud Slap as your ground damaging move and just leaning into the Water Pulse. But yeah, it's definitely one of the alignment Pokemon that have jumped up to the top 10. It's one
Mhm.
of the big three in my mind.
The big three water types.
The big three RPS machines.
Oh, right.
uh, Alongside, I mean, sort of in partnership with Clodsire. I don't think
Mhm,
Clodsire quite deserves that harsh of a label, but paired up with Mandibuzz, definitely in this particular meta feels
mhm.
quite try and get good alignment.
I mean, like, I'm always happy to see a couple of fairies in the top 10 with Azumarill and Clefable.
And
But
there's a third.
and top
Yeah,
10.
yeah. There's a third one in there.
Oh, Carbink.
Mm-hmm. It's not colored pink, but you can trust in Carb Ink.
6, 7, 8. Yay. I'll donate to PB Poke later. But but you should anyway if you're listening. If you do have some spare cash, drop it into PB Poke. He well deserves it. Um but yeah, I mean, like, those are 3 Pokemon that I have made. So when Great League does come back around, I've got something there.
Yeah, well, I feel like in many senses, it's going to be a question of how the meta actually develops in the coming weeks. I think that the Baltimore Regional Championships this coming weekend is
Hmm.
going to be the big I guess, turning point in a lot of senses. In like, people are really going to have to put their foot down, decide what they think the meta is going to look like, decide what they think is going to be able to break open the meta, and really, the rest of us will sort of look back that aren't attending and see what are the top 12 usage Pokemon on day one, what are the top 12 Pokemon usage on day two, what is
Mm.
actually like, are we seeing core breakers come through? In the first regional of the last season, we saw Wadaj go through and win the Pittsburgh Regional Championship with an incredibly unique team compared to everyone else, because he sort
Mhm.
of read the meta in a certain way. He was running Defense Deoxys as his counter
Mhm.
user. No one else is
Mhm.
running that. He was the only person literally all season that was able to win a region, or win any main series tournament with Shadow Dragonite, because he just
Mhm.
saw how useful it was going to be in that particular meta. He read the meta really well. It's a shame that we didn't actually get to see him competing at the World Championships. That, he was
Mm.
busy moving into his new college dorm and is, semi-retired these days. Well, is
Mhm.
retired these days, not semi. It's full retirement. But maybe he returns one day. Who knows? But
Mhm.
it's going to be a little bit wild, but I think it's going to give us our best sense of what is going to have a level of staying power in this meta, and
Mm.
whether this meta becomes an RPS wreck or if it is
Mhm.
a bit more neutral.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be interesting what teams will be brought. Like, I can't like that's the thing, isn't it? Like when something like this, like such a major change, and you kind of have a bit of creativity, but you could also be, I suppose, that trailblazer to like set the meta and set trends, as well. So, it's cool. I mean, like that, Baltimore can do that. I wish it was in Australia, but if there was an Australian regional or something like that earlier, that would be awesome. But it's not. But this is what it is at the moment.
Did you use Trailblazer intentionally, or is that just coincidence?
Look, I to try.
Yeah, I mean, I guess energy cost decreased, but hey, it is
Yeah,
what it
no.
is. But yeah, look, I mean, we talked about it on the. Wait, did we talk about? No, we did talk about it on the last episode, with respect to there not being any Oceanic regionals in this particular, in this meta. The meta is going to change by the time that the first Australian regional comes out. And actually, it
Mm.
is. I should stop saying Oceanic regional, because someone pointed this out. I don't remember who, but they've actually changed it on the website, on the page where it lists all of the tournaments through the season on the official Play Pokemon website. It actually lists it as Australia now instead of Oceania. So,
Oh,
uh,
so we have
if
separated with New Zealand.
well, I think they've just admitted that they're just not going to be doing any New Zealand tournaments. They've just been
have
like,
we? Have,
screw you guys.
like, I didn't realize mum and dad weren't talking anymore. Like,
Yeah.
when this is news to me.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're still like, it's still the Oceanic region on the leaderboard.
Mm.
We're still referred to as the Oceanic region when it comes to championship qualification. But yeah, on the website where it lists all of the tournaments split up into the Europes and the Americas and the yada yada yadas, Australia. So
Oh,
maybe,
well, there goes the idea of a special event happening over there.
yeah, I guess not this year.
Oh,
We can hope for later, but
we can hope.
yeah, regardless. I mean, we can take a bit of a look at I guess, the current
Mm.
Oceanic region leaderboard, give a bit of an update as we're now, well, what, July, August, September, we're on month 3 of the new season. Even though the
Mhm.
World Championships was literally like 3 weeks ago, a little tiny bit more, maybe 4 weeks, but
Mhm.
uh, it is kicking on. And as you'd expect, I mean, anyone who knows anything about the Oceanic leaderboard, especially when it's locals only, what country do you think is going to be killing it on the Oceanic leaderboard?
Ah, look, you cannot surpass like New Zealand. Like now on the Oceanic leaderboard, we do have sitting in number one spot is Yusei Farao. Now, if you
Expected.
go on, if you go on the global leaderboard,
Hmm.
so the entire world, and then go into 2025, Yusei sits at number two in the
Yep.
world right now. Um, sitting in second place is Bomatsu on the Oceania leaderboard. Sitting in the global leaderboard Number 3 is Bomatsu. So really, like the
Yeah.
New Zealanders are absolutely killing it. They're doing amazing there. Practically very close to, if not like, capping out on their local points. So, that's an amazing job. That's pretty cool to see on the global leaderboard.
Yeah, we'll see, they're very close to getting capped out, right? So they're gonna reach the point where they literally can't earn any more points, and they'll just slowly sink and sink and sink as other regions are able to just rack up more and more points from all of their tournaments. But for now, when there hasn't been a single regional level event played, New Zealand is definitely living high on top. I mean, as you said,
Mhm.
you say he's literally capped out on his points for challenges, and he's almost capped out on cups. He has
Mhm.
one second place cup finish. He just needs one more first place in a cup, and he will have officially capped out on his local points for the entire season, which are
Mhm.
pretty early to get your job done. And I think probably puts him. Actually, it doesn't. I was going to say it puts him in a decent spot for a top 10 finish on the Oceanic leaderboard to potentially try and qualify for Worlds, but it actually doesn't. Because of the
Mm.
buff to the regional championship points that have been given out, very, very high chance that that isn't enough. And you say, and Bomatsu will have to attend at least one additional regional event and pick up some championship points to have a chance at the qualification for the 2025 World Championships.
Yeah, there's definitely the regional championship points have. Yeah, I don't foresee that the current, like if you cap out on all your local points, it's 260, and I don't think by the end of the season 260 would be enough to be in. Given that we have 3 Australian regionals, yeah, yeah, I would love to see the New Zealanders fly out. I would actually really like to see if Yusei or Bomatsu come to an Australian regional or head overseas to somewhere else, and try and secure that place for them, or even just use their travel award. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, they both received a 3.5 grand travel award to attend LAIC. So, maybe that's their ticket, right? They sort of go over
Mm,
and they play at LAIC. We did sort of find out just today that there is threat of not receiving, well, to receive the money, you have to agree to spend it on travel to that particular tournament. And if you do
mm,
not agree, if you say or if you say, yep, give me the 3.5 grand, and you don't use it to attend the championship that it's made for, that you don't attend LAIC, they said that they might actually just ban you from play Pokemon. So, you know, you could potentially throw a 3.5 grand runner. I don't know if there's like legal grounds for them to yoink their money back, but it's not an option to just pocket the money and run. It sort of seems like so. It puts a little more temptation to use it towards a good cause because either you get a 3.5 grand travel award or you get nada. So could be
yeah.
worthwhile making the trip, knowing that they have to make a trip anyway if they want to qualify for Worlds.
I mean, like, again, we've talked about this before, but for those that are getting travel awards, I can just sit comfortably in that top 4 and just like, well, IC to IC, here we go. So, but yeah, it would be really nice to see the New Zealanders going out there and trying to get some points outside of New Zealand itself. But yeah, so the top 2 currently, as mentioned, you say, and then Bomatsu sitting in third. From Perth, we have Avrip. So he's currently on 140 points through there. Now, number 4, Steve. Do you know much about number 4?
Yeah. So number 4 is Nick Hensing. And Nick Hensing is, I believe, he's a TCG player from South Australia. And the South Australia scene, I think it sounds to me like it's a little bit ripe for the picking in some sense, in that Fish and a Heater can sort of just grind up as many points as he wants down there. It's largely filled with non-serious Go players by the sounds of things. Like it sort of sounds like they get their 4 together by roping in a few TCG or VG players, and getting through their mark. At least at the start of last season, they were actually doing best of 1 tournaments. They weren't even doing the full best of 3,
Mm,
which turns out is legal in the sense that like play Pokemon at the time, at least, it could have changed. I was a little bit unclear, but at least at the time, you were definitely allowed to run local tournaments in a best of one format. And so Fish just sort of walked all over them, racked up, his local points over there. But Fish was away for a little while. And Nick
Mm.
Hensing has apparently sort of come in and yoinked a lot of those South Australia points in the interim.
Mhm.
So he's sitting at 136 points, taking all of those Adelaide points. So we'll see if he actually rocks up to like a Go regional tournament.
Mm.
Because I don't know what the in-game name is.
No, no idea either. So, I think that's maybe that's a kept secret. Maybe that will be like the dark horse. We don't know who it is, and then suddenly, like, oh, who's this player playing really well? And they're like, oh, it's a South Australian dude. So we don't know as of yet, but we'll see what happens. Sitting in fifth, we've got a notable name, especially with if you are within Arena Australis. We've got Clunk NZ. So it's nice to see him being in the top five with 117 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see him sort of diving into the play Pokemon scene in general. He's been
Mm.
absolutely demolishing the Astralis Shield tournament format series that Bamboss has been hosting over the last couple of years, where it used to be tied to the Silpharina. It's sort of changing a little bit these days. I think he's still sort of settling on what exactly it's going to look like going forward. But Clank sort of wins almost every single time. He's
Yeah.
beating out a lot of the best in Australia, the best,
Mhm.
and a few not expats, but a few non-Aussies jumping in as well. Clank obviously being one of them, but we've got some
Mm.
New Zealand blood in there. We're also
Mhm.
stretching out to some of the Pacific nations as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, so Clunk is definitely sort of a killer at the Show 6 format. And
Mhm.
so really cool to see him sort of doing so well in the Play Pokemon series. And also, going down the leaderboard, we have Rick Flareon in number 6. Uh, Still salty that the man defeated me in that cup that one time. But alas,
Never forget. Never forget.
I just closest I've ever been to that cup win, just stolen from me. All because I didn't know how to undercharge. It-
Well,
it-
talking about things in undercharging,
Yeah,
I
talking about
believe
Ric
there's a new
Flareon.
I believe there's a new video that just popped out literally today about undercharging.
Yeah, and look, there's a Ric Flareon clip at the start, but it's
I saw the video and I saw the clip and I'm just like, oh, I see the salt still burns.
I don't- it
I
was like I wanted to include a clip of sort of an undercharge gone wrong and an undercharge done right, and I just like in my memory there was just no other clip in my head other than the Ric Flareon clip. It was just so burnt into my brain that it was like, okay, I mean, you kind of have to, don't you? But um, to be fair, like, so I actually my first thought, because I was like, okay, well, I don't want to just drag the guy for no reason and include this clip of, for those that don't know, I guess, I mean, you can just watch the YouTube video, but
Link it in description. Link it in the description.
I probably won't, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, the Ric Flair and maybe undercharge a little too much at last year's World Championships. But I was like, okay, well, I don't want to just use it again for no reason. And so my first thought was like, oh, it would be really good to actually use my clip of when I sort of failed to undercharge, which directly, like, instantly lost me the game against Ric Flareon in that Cup Grand Finals as like a clear, like, oh, this decision, this undercharging decision actually directly cost 50 championship points. It's like, very, very clear cause and effect. Unfortunately, I deleted all of that footage going into the World Championships because I was like,
Oh, of
oh,
course you did.
I need space on my phone. So I was like,
Yeah.
I just deleted it all out. I was like, well, I'm not making a video of this run, so like, don't need it. But yeah, so didn't get to use my clip. So I was like, well, sorry, Rick. Guess you're getting put on blast again.
I think when I watched your video, I just laughed really hard because it was just such a like the cutscene from the World Championships to you talking, going, learn how to undercharge or how to undercharge. I'm just like, oh, that's such a burn.
The
oh,
the
it's
original
funny.
line I was gonna use wasn't gonna sound that targeted, like, it was gonna be a very general thing, but then I didn't like how it sounded, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll try a different line," and then the line I ended up using was a little bit like, yeah, but, okay,
um,
I
I'm
respect the man
sure
muchly.
I'm sure he'll get you back at the next local.
I'm sure he'll get me at every local from here to the end of the season. It's a pretty rare occasion that I'm able to get eke a win off of Ric Flairian, but, we do what we can.
Uh, I
It's
expect to see some photos of you being stuck in a headlock and maybe getting like a noogie or something.
Look, there's Ric Flairian's picking up some enemies around the Sydney locals, let's put it that way. I'm on a long list, but,
Ah, I
you
see.
know, yeah,
Mhm.
but Rick is sitting there in number 6 on the
Mhm.
leaderboard with 112 points. Then we obviously have another Perth resident. We've got Z-Tab hanging in at number 7
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
101 points as well. And
Mhm.
I guess rounding out the top 10, we have Ollie Jones NZ, who is another new name
Mhm.
to me. I assume a new name to you as well, Debbie, in
Mhm.
number 8
Correct.
from New Zealand. As
Mhm.
if the NZ at the end didn't give it away.
Mhm.
Another New Zealand battler. Then we've got Greg from America hanging out at number 9 on the leaderboard, which is his name on the leaderboard, which I think is awesome. I mean, Debbie, do you want to explain for those that are not aware of the Greg from America law?
The Greg from America lore is that when we met Greg in Melbourne Regional last year, um, now Greg isn't from Australia. If you haven't figured out the name,
Oh, really?
Greg has.
Where's he from?
Oh, he's from America.
Wow.
uh, and uh, I had Yakovovich send me a message being like, if you find like Greg from America around, add him to the Oceania Discord. Because he's like, really interested in getting into the scene, PvP, he's lovely, like said all these lovely things about him. And when I read the message, I just set out, like, we were walking, it was like community day, Chansey community day, and we were walking around catching Chanseys. And all I said was really out loud, who's Greg from America? And he was literally standing right next to me. And he's like, oh, that would be me. I'm just like, oh, okay, okay. So now he's changed nearly all his usernames to that. So people are aware of who he is. It's like, oh yeah, it's Greg from America.
Yep.
uh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, great guy. He actually beat me in the Australis Shield recently. But I mean,
Oh,
I will say I ran into that tournament because, well, I decided to use the most RPS team possible. I literally designed my team to be the greatest showing of RPS of all time. With I was trying to fit Whalmer on there, but it was like, no, not RPS enough. We need our Bastiodons and our Victory Bells and our Charm. And
oh, this is
unfortunately,
dirtier than
uh,
mine.
yeah, I went all. Well, I knew it was all getting nerfed, right, going into this season.
Mm,
So I was
yeah.
like, well, let's give these guys a final hurrah. Use all of the razor leaps and the smackdowns and whatever else have you.
Mhm.
But yeah, unfortunately, I lost the RPSs. So Greg from America
Ah.
wins out on that one. But we
Mhm.
then have at number 10, Fish on a Heater.
Mhm.
Obviously, still grabbing some points from the South Australian scene at 77 points. And, it all goes down from there. The list is long.
Mhm.
I mean, I want to give a special shout out to someone who is currently at number 35 on the leaderboard with 12 points. Uh, Shout out Debbie Pebble.
I'm like scrolling down and I'm like, wait a second. Like this is page 2. This is not page 1. But yeah, I'm there. I have some points. I was on page 1 for a while before, everyone else started
Anyone else
playing,
did
but
locals?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Wait,
Came
this
came
is.
mhm.
Actually, go ahead.
No, I said I came second in a challenge, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. How'd the challenge go, by the way? I don't think we've. Wait, have we talked about it on the podcast?
No, well, when all this was happening, we were interviewing others. So we really haven't talked about like locals this season at all.
No, I think we tried to sort of fit it in on the pre-worlds episode a little bit when we sort of recapped
Mm,
everything, but I'm not sure how much we dug into it. It's been a little
mm.
while.
No, it was locals have been fine. Perth is, still, thriving. Uh, we're running a cup every month and probably like 2 to 3 challenges each month. So yeah, gets a bit of practice in and yeah, managed to somehow scramble some championship points. So that's kind of nice. I we'll see how this season pans out. But yeah, one of my personal goals is just to try and get some wins in the local scene. Yeah, I'm not sure about regionals, so yeah, just to kind of get a little bit of improvement there. And I think I'm slowly getting there. I'm getting some help, which is awesome. And also, I get like a lot of pre jitters before competing, so that's kind of helped as well by doing a lot more locals. So if you're thinking about attending a local, I highly suggest it, especially before a regional. Instead of Pokemon Go doing the other way around, doing regionals first and then doing locals. Yeah, I can see the benefit of doing locals.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess, granted, again, our hope is that every Australian tournament is going to be streamed. So,
Hmm.
will there be opportunities to play on the sort of bigger stage in the sense of not in locals? We'll find out. But no, the
Hmm.
self development is lovely. And again, rank 35 on the leaderboard. A little
I
bit of
mean,
a
those are you go.
yeah. Oh, I was going to say something a little different. Oh, so really, I was going to ask a question. So you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say those are my goals. What are your goals?
Um, yeah, I'm not really sure yet, to be honest. I'm still sort of figuring it out on the edges. Um,
Mm,
like we when before we knew that the championship point system was changing, back when I thought that it was just going to be another sort of hit this threshold to qualify, I was definitely going to try and qualify. I was like, all right, now this is going to be my
mm,
season. I'll hit up ICs, whatever, and we'll get the qualification through. Once
mhm,
they changed it to be top 10 on the leaderboard, I was a little bit more like, okay, maybe we just, focus in on attending next year as a creator again, rather than going for the
mm,
qualification. Leave it to the guys that could actually have a chance at, uh, putting on a decent show for Australia. So to be honest, I'm not really sure. Like, there's still the background goal of wanting to get the regional broadcasts going for the Australian scene, because again,
mhm,
we don't have
mhm,
any confirmations, one way or the other,
mm,
going into the season so far. We don't even know where the third regional is this season.
mm,
There's also like a small hope in the back of my head. It's like, is it possible to get streams for the Asian tournaments? I think it's pretty
mm,
unlikely, but there's at least a thought there of like, because online tournaments are they're a lot easier in terms of like cost, but they're a
mm,
little more there's a little more logistic. It's easier to say no from an organizer standpoint, because you're like, well, what are you asking? Are you gonna is this going to lag out the opponent's battles because they're just connecting from
yeah,
their own internets on a
right.
connecting to Discord and whatever. So there
Mhm,
can be some extra hurdles in that sense, which sounds odd because it feels like there should be more hurdles doing in person tournaments, but um,
mm,
they're much more. I guess I have more control over beating the in person hurdles
mhm, mhm,
than online ones for other players and whatnot. But
yeah,
yeah, so end of the day, I'm not too sure. I think in general,
mm,
I'm also just hoping to improve this season
mm,
is a bit of a goal. So like as I mentioned before, I'm working. Well, I was going to say working a bit harder. I should just say working on my move counts,
mhm,
learning the timing of things, and it is improving my gameplay. So um, plenty to learn as we jump into this season.
yeah.
My curiosity, I guess, is just maybe it's just expressing confusion. This could be a blind
Oh
man
no.
asking the blind. But I'm looking at the Play Pokemon leaderboard, and
Yeah.
all of the names on the bottom have 12 points. Has Well, I guess there's the facet that you need 8 players to actually get a 10-point allocation. Like, you
Uh-huh.
need your locals to be big enough that third and fourth actually receive 10 points at a challenge. But
Yes.
my first hypothesis was like, oh, does anyone that places third or fourth at a challenge, have they just all like coincidentally gotten other results as well? Like, they happen to have added them up onto other tournaments. Like, I'm looking at Greg from America on 80 points, and it was like how do you get that score? And I guess you could just place second in 2 cups, but like, you could also there's Valiant Fish on 60 points. Did he play second in a cup, and then he's managed to get 10 points twice? Like, it's all or maybe that's 4 challenge wins. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm really just expressing my confoundment of like, oh, there's no 10 pointers. Interesting.
There is
A
no
lot of
10
12, a
pointers.
lot of 15, but there you go.
But
Fun
you are
fact.
correct. Yeah, but you are correct. I think now with the new um championship point, I suppose it is a nerf when it comes to the local championship points, where previously in the previous season, if you had 4 people attending, all 4 people would get some sort of point allocation. Whereas now it's only the top 2 if you have 4 players, and only the top 4 if you have 8 players. So you need to kind of reach that 8 player minimum threshold to try and get those points. So yeah, I mean, like, the Australian scene is kind of small, so getting 8 people, well, it can be difficult. I think for you guys over in New South Wales, you've hit over 8 a few times.
Yeah, I don't. Player numbers are not our problem. Is certainly the thing that is ringing true over this way. It is very much the tournament accessibility or having tournaments that's the problem. Because like we got so close to beating the Perth Regionals Cup as to become the biggest local ever held in Australia once more. We got so close, but unfortunately just barely fell short. So I do suspect that it'll happen this season. I
Mm.
suspect that, New South Wales will reclaim the title of the biggest local in Australia.
Hmm.
It could get beaten by, if a local happens to happen, well, I mean, I guess Perth Regionals this December. There could be a little more interest there. I mean, we'll find out. I mean, for all we know, Perth Regionals is going to be a 2-day event, right? So
Yeah.
only time will tell.
Well, we haven't heard anything from ESL yet, in regards to anything, in regards to that. So I'm not planning any cups challenges around Perth regionals until we get an idea whether it's a 1 day or a 2 day event. Um, I mean, yeah, we could possibly do it on day 2 in the afternoon, because we'll probably be done. We'll figure it out. Um, it just might mean a lot of transportation if we're going all the way down to Rockingham again. But it's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll get there.
Yeah,
December's still a while away.
yeah, exactly. There's a full 3 months between now and the Sunday of Perth Regionals, so
The
wouldn't
meta will
be
change
too
by then.
concerned.
Like, everything will change by that point.
Yeah, we'll probably we'll either see a buff to Feraligatr counters or a nerf to Feraligatr between now and then. So
Mm.
we'll find out what actually happens. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to mention today?
Um, if you've got a local near you, go participate in your local so we can get some numbers up and get more championship points for everyone.
It would be nice if we could guarantee 8 at every local. That would be lovely. But yeah,
Very there. And yeah, so what other regionals have we got coming up? So you mentioned Baltimore, we've got on this weekend, and then the first European one is the weekend after.
no, it's another 2 weekends after in Dortmund,
Ah.
Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Same weekend as the first Latin American one in Joinville. I don't know. I feel like that's not how you say it, but
Mm.
I don't know. I know a lot of J's don't end up as J's, so maybe it's not. I don't know. I'll
Uh,
wait and see, I guess. But yeah, then it's there's not that many North American regionals slated. Like it's sort of like one a month ish
mm,
for a
mm,
little while. Well, I guess that's not quite true. There's one in September. There's one in October, and then there's two. Oh no, there's only one in November as well. Um, yeah, so it feels like a bit of a thinner season. I don't know. I feel like it was used to be more regionals than this, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just got confused by the slew of like every weekend seems to be either in North America or Europe or Latin America, but
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
general, it does feel a little slimmer at this first part of the
Mm.
season, but that's probably not correct.
Well, North America will have plenty. That's all right. They're not starving,
Oh yeah,
unlike
they'll be
us.
fine.
So.
Yeah. Boo
But
hoo
yeah,
hoo, having more than 3 regionals.
but yeah, our next one will be in Perth, December 7th to 8th. Book your flights. Uh, it'll be hot. It's summer then. Bring some sunscreen. That's all I can suggest. But that's cool that I don't have to go.
Congrats.
Sorry, but not
But
sorry.
yeah. But yeah, so next episode won't be until after Baltimore, so we'll
Mhm,
wait
mhm.
and see what is going to, what the meta's going to shake out like on the Play Pokemon circuit. And yeah, well, I guess we'll be back to it then. So in the meantime, follow on all of the G'day Battlers socials at G'day Battlers on the Twitter or the X and also the YouTube as well. And
And also check
yeah,
out Steve's new video on undercharging if you haven't
uh,
already. Just type it into YouTube so it can,
you,
help us.
you can skip the first 11 seconds. It's you don't need
Rick
to see
can
that
skip
bit.
the first 11
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, someone just send Rick the link that just automatically skips to 11
Timestamp.
seconds, and he
Ti
yeah, send the timestamp in. You don't let him see it.
You're gonna get a black eye in the next local. Alright, see you guys, bye!
Oh, man.